overfishing represents to all.
Show the world you care. Come out to our rally to save the East Coast fishery and ensure a world food supply for future generations. That's 2 p.m. Sunday, May 3rd at Nathan Field Square, City Hall, Toronto. Show the world we care.
You know, Ron. Ready for the big day, Rolando? Get that little
You want to start the order, Dave? Yeah, did you come, please? Or?
He's not here yet, no. I know, but I talked to him last night. Him and John, after I talked to John last night.
No, but he told you to grab a sign.
Huh?
He told you to grab a sign.
Oh.
He did.
You want me to grab a sign, girl? Let's go there. Hey, boys, Eddie and Josie. Eddie
called. There's a song that was written about it by Roy Payne, maybe 15 years ago I got from him, and the time came around when it's a fine song. Where did old yesterday go? Well, when I was a boy, back home in Trout River, I looked at the ocean just like it was gold. The codfish were big, and the lobsters were plenty. You've never seen nothing till you see Cape Road. Well, you tell me, sweet Jesus, you found all the answers. I'm looking for answers to things I don't know. Now the big fish are gone, and the lobsters are midgets. Where did old yesterday go? Now they tell me that oil is the fish of the future. But progress don't stop over cold water grave. And I don't think that I'll like the future without little boats anchored out in the bay. Well, you tell me, sweet Jesus, you found all the answers. I'm looking for answers to things I don't know. Now the big fish are gone, and the lobsters are midgets. Where did old yesterday go? Now here's to the men who made yesterday history. High-flying waters and bitter cold winds. Well, the women were proud, and the men held their heads high. The fish from the waters, if they everyone fed. Tell me, sweet Jesus, you found all the answers. I'm looking for answers to things I don't know. Now the big fish are gone, and the lobsters are midgets. Where did old yesterday go? Tell me, where did old yesterday go? Hey, you know where it went. Slide downtown's water. Feelings and tears, talking like a dude. Can't hear me, no, can't hear me. If you believe it, he's down for a feed, salt beef and cabbage, and chomping on pizza. Pretending so deep, no, he can't hear me. You can't take the bark on the baby boys, but you can't take the baby from the boy. You can't change his clothes, change his way of talking, change his mind a dozen times a day. But bright light shoes eyes make him live life, but you can't take the baby from the boy. Cause you're dancing in the shadow, and with the light of the river, jumping off and down. No, you can't do it. Hello, mother, I found your loving son. He's living in Cosmo, and he's gone my way. He's leaving against you. Can't fool me. No, he can't fool me. You can't take the boy from the bad boys, but you can't take the baby from the boy. You can't change his clothes, change his way of talking, change his mind a dozen times a day. What bright lights in his eyes make him live life, but you can't take the baby from the boy. You can't take the baby from the boy. Hey, you got that right.
We're going to do one more number for you as we're doing warm-up entertainment. Officially, the rally starts at 2 o'clock, but we got lots of entertainment, so we thought that we'd give you some entertainment while you're standing around waiting.
There's a song that's good. There's one thing about it. Everybody stuck to the doors. I fish for a living, got a wife and 2 children. When the sun says good morning, I say goodbye to the land. I love the feel of my jigger on the tips of my fingers as the sea balls look down on the glory of Chevy, she was always ready. Up above, always ready to lend you a hand. I get a moose every winter, and you're welcome, winter. So come down and visit the glory boat man. You can feel the long liners and the fast and finish finders. I owe no man nothing, and I like what I am. So when you're out fishing, throw in my direction. You got a friend after me in the glory boat man.
On over today. You had a good time last night. We're going to do that again. We're going to get a place to hold about 2,000 people this time. So everybody has a good time. It's nice to see such a good turnout for such a worthwhile cause that we're doing our own bit. We've got lots of entertainers, so we'll just do a couple of numbers. But it's really nice to see the people come down and support our folks back home, believe it.
Canadian waters, north on the coast of Maine. There's an island called Newfoundland, so much snow, wind and rain. On the island there's a village with its customs and its ways. The little town of Collinville, a home of childhood days. The childhood days, there's something that's carefree all the time. There's a girl in every story, you know there's one in mine. Well, she broke my heart so often, stays a little sore, and that's the reason I am told that I won't go back no more.
know that. We'll make you homesick before you go home.
Thank you. Okay, Bernard McDonald and Roy McDonald.
Last night, boy. Good
Thank you
music.
very much. Never had
All
no
right.
sleep. We went back to St. Catherine, stayed up all night and came back again.
Yeah, what happened to Les? Slept in, did he?
He slept in.
Howdy, folks. Good to see you all here. We're here for a real good cause today. As you all know, the sad situation down home. And we're here to try to get some attention. I don't know if we'll, I'm sure we'll accomplish something, you know, we all hope to. And let's all hope and pray it's not too late anyway. I'd like to say hello to West Lutter Mo over there. My brother Kevin's here somewhere. He said hello to everybody. All right, you're going to do a tune here now, Fred. Going back. Everybody would like to go back home, regardless of the sad situation, but we all love to go back there. Going back to Newfoundland.
New direct box. Beat.
Not a day goes by that I think of home and all it means to me. The wind-swept coast of Newfoundland is there I want to be. 'Twas there that I was born and raised in a tiny fishing town. And wait until that happy day when I am homeward bound. I'm going back to that dear spot I always will call home. I'm going back to settle down and never more to roam. Okay, Chris. I'm tired of crowded sidewalks and mile-long traffic jams, where none will offer a friendly smile or lend a helping hand. I'm tired of crowded sidewalks and mile-long traffic jams, where none will offer a friendly smile or lend a helping hand. I'm going back to that dear spot I always will call home. I'm going back to settle down and never more to roam. All right. I miss the grassy pathways where the tall green hawthorn grows. I miss the peaceful meadow where the shiny river flows. I miss my friends and neighbors, those some won't see again. They always welcome you with a smile, no matter where you've been. I'm going back to that dear spot I always will call home. I'm going back to settle down and never more to roam. Once more, I'm going back to that dear spot I always will call home. I'm going back to settle down and never more to roam. And never more to roam. Oh, hey!
Bernard McDonald from England.
Thank you. Thank you. I think after last night, the old throat just took a bit of a beating.
This one once in a while or somewhere down the road. If you like to drink homebrew,
Nothing personal towards anybody. Yeah.
Song is titled A Drunkard Like Me. That's for my buddy Dick out there, Uncle Dick Stiles. He hitchhiked down from Cambridge just to be here today.
How you doing, Dick?
That's what you call a dedicated Newfoundlander. Either that or you don't know the difference.
We also got a guy who drove all the way from Newfoundland. Just got here, and he's driving back after the rally. What do you think of that? That's dedication for you.
Yeah, how about that? Get
All right. Okay, let's get the Newfoundlanders, let's get the fish back in the old waters on the Grand Banks there. Get rid of the foreign invaders, I'd say. Darn tootin'. How about that?
When I was a lad about 8 or 10, I'd go out on parties and drink with the men. They said when I grow up, a drunkard I'd be. From the smell off the bottle, I'd never break free. But I drink and I drink all night and all day. The drunker I get, the more I put away. Oh, nobody knows what my future might be. They say there's no hope for drunkard like me. Okay, friends. When I think of my hometown, it gives me a thrill. The times in Joe Clark's little house on the hill. I'd stay there on the weekends, he'll seldom alone. Because I was always too drunk to go home. And I drink all night and all day. The drunker I get, the more I put away. Oh, nobody knows what my future might be. They say there's no hope for drunkards like me. All right, guys, sing it again. Yahoo! Have more people out on the floor. We got a big dance floor here, boy. On Sunday morning when I went to pray in a quaint little church just across the way, both me and the reverend, we had to agree. We hadn't enough wine for drunkards like me. Now years have gone by and I'm growing old. They say too much booze is bad for the soul. It weakens your kidneys and uproots your hair. Makes no difference to me, I'm too drunk to care. And I drink all night and all day. The drunker I get, the more I put away. Oh, nobody knows what my future might be. They say there's no hope for drunkers like me. Yeah, they say there's no hope for drunkers like me. Yahoo! There you go, folks. Great, great, great.
Set on normal. Was on normal. Out. Pace, you can bring down the overall monitor level just a smidge.
Okay.
It's a song we'd like to send out to all the inshore fishermen. A song called All Not Die in the Water. Well, he was no youngster, but his skin it was fair. For he was a seaman, no stranger to have. And she was no beauty, but a passionate kind, a sea captain's daughter, whom she lost to the brine. Now it was time for the leaving, as the ropes were pulled on, and as the ship left the harbor, you could hear the boys roar. I'll not die on the water, I'll not drink from the sea. I listen to you every Sunday night. I said, who do you think I am? Fonzie Fagan. Oh boy. Yes,
I guess I'm on first. I'm a little nervous. I'm used to doing it on the telephone.
You don't make any difference.
I just wrote this, so I gotta read.
You got the problem. Well, I was telling Ron and Bruce that last night, it's Fonzie comes down, I gotta meet. Who's that?
Lou, is this the first time you met Fonzie?
This is the first time I met Fonzie. So Fonzie, where you from, St.
You want to turn that off for a minute?
Ollie, get attention. Look at us. We're here. We need you to listen. We need you to talk about what's happening today. Someone in the media asked, why are you here? Very good question. Why are we here? Not in St. John's, or not in Halifax, or not in Ottawa. Well, of course, if we were in St. John's or Halifax, it'd be redundant, because the people in St. John's, the people in Halifax, already know what we're all about. Of course, Ottawa is a different story altogether. We're here in Nathan Phillips Square in Toronto because this is the biggest meeting place in Canada, and because we have to involve all of the people of Canada in the pressing and urgent issue of the East Coast fishery, while there still is an East Coast fishery. And we ask you here today, every single man, woman, and child here today, to carry the message that we bring. Carry it to the farthest corner of the rest of Canada, that there's a real emergency on our very doorstep, that it needs our closest attention, and that we need the help of every single Canadian to help us resolve the problem. Now, with these important goals before us, we have assembled a very small group of informed people to present you, to tell you the facts of the situation. The facts. This could be a first in Canada. The Minister of Fisheries for Newfoundland is here. The Honourable Walter Carter represents the fishermen's riding of Twillingate in the Newfoundland legislature. He's here with us today. Mr. Carter will address us. We have Earl McCurdy. Earl is the Secretary of the Newfoundland Federation of Labour, and he graciously agreed to be with us here in Toronto at Nathan Phillips Square today for Rick Cashin of the Food, Fishermen and Allied Workers Union, who had to be somewhere else suddenly and was called away. We have Mr. Barry Stagg with us. Barry is a lawyer. We'll forgive him for that. He's a columnist with the Down Homer magazine, and he's a member of the John Cabot Society. And by the way, the Down Homer is to be commended for the untiring efforts that it makes in favor of Newfoundland every time it gets a chance to do so. And we have with us Mr. John Efford, who is a fisherman. He's a member of the House of Assembly for Portagrave, and he has first-hand information for us here today. Now, all of these speakers will present, as you will hear, different perspectives on the desperate state of affairs off the coast of Canada. You know, I dare say that if the great wheat fields of the Canadian West were as threatened as the fishing grounds are, then we'd probably send out a call to defend the country. We hope that the miners and the forest workers and the cattle and grain farmers and the professionals and the students and the housekeepers and the factory workers and the office workers, all Canadians, will hear our alarm today, and that they will come and help us, because we need their help. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Now, before the very first speech, we're going to have a time.
A time in Newfoundland is a time. It's a celebration because we do have a chance to meet with each other, and that alone is a celebration. We're here today because we mean business, but we're here today to see each other too. And so in true Newfoundland fashion, we have a little bit of entertainment to present, to set the stage for us today. We have, okay, for those of you who listen to the Down Home show, the next speaker is no stranger. He comes from Rabbitown. Now, Rabbitown is a state of mind in a part of St. John's. He's been in Toronto for a couple of years working as a super in a downtown apartment building. He's a very shy, retiring person. And the sooner he retires and comes home to Newfoundland, the better we'll all like it. Ladies and gentlemen, Fonz Fagan.
Is that you, Bruce? How's she going, me duckies? All right, Tony, that's not much of a response from a bunch of Newfoundlanders. I'm going to ask you one more time, how is she going? And this time I want you all to bawl out, lovely, tell your mother. Are you ready? How's she going? Not too bad, but I heard noisier crowds in Carnell's funeral home. The problem with you crowd is that most of you by now are Toronto Maple Leaf fans, and you have nothing to cheer about, so you're out of practice. You know what the Toronto Blue Jays, the Argonauts, and the Maple Leafs have in common? None of them can play hockey. Anyway, boys, I got to tell you, from up here, this is a great sight. This is the most Newfoundlanders I've seen gathered in one spot since last Forget-A Day. It looks like happy hour in George Street in St. John's on P-Day. I'm so glad you all made the effort to come out here today and start off a new movement called Newfie Power. Just off the subject for a bit, I thought I saw someone peeking out the window up there in City Hall. I bet you that's Mayor June Rowlands, seeing that we got the Salvation Army band playing for us today. I don't know about you crowd, but I was some poisoned about her comments about the Salvation Army, the best charitable organization in the world. I can only hope if she ever becomes homeless and down on her luck, that the fruits are around to give her a meal and a roof over her head. Enough of that. Now on to the main reason why we're all here today. To take back the fishery and save the way of life that's unique and that's been going on for nearly 500 years. And why is this way of life threatened? Well, I think there's three things. Greed, stupidity, and incompetence. Greed on the part of all the people involved with the fisheries, including ourselves. Take it all today and forget about tomorrow. Stupidity on the part of them scientists who must have been using their fingers and toes when they're counting the cod stock. And stupidity too on behalf of that crowd led by Bridget Bardot and that Greenpeace tribe who stopped the seal fishery just because the seals look cute. Tunner, I think lambs looks cute, but I still like a good feed of lamb chops. and then in confidence by Brian Muldooney and his berry men. They've shagged up the East Coast fishery beyond all recognition. When faced with a problem, Muldooney runs off to see his bosses down in the States, George Bush and Ronnie Reagan. And for handling the fisheries, they had neither a plan at all. It's just like them X-rated movies you see on TV these days. You don't know what's coming off next. Look at the fisheries ministers he appointed over the years. What a bunch of losers. The worst of the lot was that Sidden buddy. You know, when it came to the fishery, he didn't know his arse from his elbow. He thought lobster pots were something the lobsters put under their bed when he went to sleep at night. Now John Crosby's the best of the lot. But how far can he go? He's marching under the orders of Charlie Chin, you know, and he's trying to resort to diplomacy with the foreign countries who are tearing the hell out of the cod and all the other species. Diplomacy me arse. The only good diplomat I know is a buddy who can convince his wife she looked fat in a fur coat. What's the answer here? First of all, that Muldooney's got to go. Yeah, no, it's on top of shagging up the agreement with the other countries. He ignores the Maritimes. There's no votes there. Lord Darn, he says he's trying to eliminate poverty. I wish he'd stop. Pretty soon that's all we're going to have left. So, boys, it's in our hands. Come election time, let's do it. Over the side with him. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na, Muldooney, goodbye. Sha-na-na-na, sha-na-na-na, Muldooney, goodbye. Okay, we've solved that part of it, boy. She's fighting back. But what about the foreigners who are stripping the nose and tail of the Grand Banks? Stick in Leslie Gutter, and then have the planes fly out to the Grand Banks and dump the loads on the decks of every foreign trawler that comes across. Flop right in the middle of the deck. These stink bombs will have more effect than the spark band bombs. The thing I worries about is that while the load of crap we dumps on these ships should scare off most of the foreigners, from the looks of some of the Russian trawlers I've seen in St. John's, they might think it's an improvement. So that's the non-slaving strategy for getting the foreign boats off the Grand Banks. On a more serious note, though, whatever we decide to do, we've all got to do it together and let the world know it. Today's a good sign. Good. Nuclear power.
Thank you very much, Lon. Sometime. Would you come up here, people? Let's get up here.
Hey, there's 4 mics. All the mics are on.
Hello. What a bunch of singers in Toronto has done was we got together and we are making an album. And all the money, all the proceeds from this album, we're going to start a scholarship fund for the son or a daughter of a Newfoundland fisherman who wants to go into marine biology research. So that in 20 years' time, someone doesn't have to phone the federal government and say, oh my God, we got no cod. And I hope you like this song. It's a song about us, and be proud that you're a Newfoundlander. We got everybody here? Yeah, most of them. Just got a plug-in of your things.
On the record. That's the guy on the record. Somebody called him up, didn't he? Yeah.
Direct line B.
Oh, that sounds good. Anyhow, this is a song written by me and my buddy here, David. Check. Check.
Electric guitar.
We are singing for fishermen. We're from Newfoundland. The ocean is our way of life, an island our homeland. We are singing for fishermen, their family and friends. Make tomorrow bring plenty, my son, may the catch be get your program so the next, we're going to sing this a couple of times. Everybody's going to sing along with it. Thank you.
World. This is where it all started, Portagrave. This man is the chairman and a founding member of the United Fisherpersons of Newfoundland and Labrador. This is an association of fishermen whose boats, and fisherwomen, whose boats are under 65 feet long. There are 125 of them around the island altogether, with about 8 people in each crew. So we're looking at approximately 1,000 people who actually go down to the sea in ships. And today, which is the anniversary or the day in which we honor the Battle of Britain, and we saw the parade going by here earlier, this is an entirely appropriate day for us to be meeting here at Nathan Phillips Square and to present John Effort from Portagrave. Here he is.
Good afternoon, Newfies. How are you getting on? Fine, are you, boy? Well, let me tell you one thing from the very beginning. I'm from Portagrave, and I'm not making believe with my accent. It's real. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I want to express my deep appreciation and sincere thanks on behalf of every Newfoundlander and Labradorian to the Down Oma Club and all of you people who've helped to put this organization together this afternoon and have it the tremendous success that it is. We need your help, and this is a sure sign that we're going to get it. Harry told you and said that you're here because you're interested in the Newfoundland fishery, you're interested in Newfoundland and Labrador, and I believe that. But when I'm finished this afternoon in the next 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to be a lot more angrier than you are right now. And I want you to bear with me, because what I have to say this afternoon is real and it's true, and if you don't believe it, then you have no business being here. I'm telling you now that Newfoundland is on the brink of the worst economic collapse since the Depression. Without the fishery, Newfoundland, as we know today, cannot survive. Without the fishery, there is no choice for our youth to live in the province. There is no choice for anybody to live there. They will be forced to leave the rock. And I, for one, and a born and bred Newfoundlander and Labradorian, that I want to have the choice to live in that province. I want you people to have the choice to go back to that province. Someone was quoted saying in the Grand Falls Advertiser last week, what gives Newfoundlanders the right to think that they have first access or access to the fishery? I'm telling you, by God, every Newfoundlander's got the right to the fishery in Newfoundland. I'm telling you now that there's 30,000 people involved in the fishery. There should be 130,000 people involved. Because the fishery belongs to Newfoundland and Labrador. But we've got careless over the last 3 or 4 decades. We've allowed it to be slipped through our fingers. We've allowed for everybody else to get the benefits of it except ourselves. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to wake up and smell reality that it's gone on for too long, and we want it back, and we're going to get it back. The message that I'm telling everybody in Newfoundland, that I am not a quitter. Are you a quitter? No, and nobody in Newfoundlanders are quitters. But we've become complacent over the years. We've become filled with apathy. We've got caught up in the social safety net. And it's time to forget it. It's time to start getting some pride back and to start to take back what's rightfully ours. And that's the message that I want to go after this afternoon for you to carry, that we're going to send a message to Ottawa and everybody else who's out there taking our fish, that we're going to take it back. We're going to worse. I'm going to give you some real numbers to think about. 30,000 people involved in the fishery, and if they only earned on an average of $300 a week combined income with UI benefits for the winter months, you're talking about $468 million. And every job created in the fishery in the province, a spin-off in the service industry, is another 1.5, for everyone is another 45,000 jobs if they're all working. And 45,000 jobs earning an average of $200 a week only, represents another $460 million. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, with 30,000 people employed in the fishing industry directly, it means a new income in the province of over $1 billion. Now the question I ask you, and I ask it very seriously, you take that $1 billion out of the economy and you've got nothing left, you've got nothing in Newfoundland, only social services and handouts from the great people in Ottawa who thinks that's all we want is handouts. And Newfoundland cannot survive. It's the same as I said last evening, taking all the manufacturing out of Ontario, taking the forestry from British Columbia, you have absolutely nothing left. The fishery is the mainstay, the backbone of Newfoundland and Labrador. And that's the reason why I saw it necessary to come to Toronto on behalf of a few fishermen. And because I was a fisherman myself, I have a cod fish, I have a split fish, I have a salted fish, and I've done what the next person's done, and I'm not ashamed of it, I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. The one thing I'm telling you is that I believe in the province, and I want to live there, and I want to go back, and I want to see you people come back, and I want to see you people visit your families, and when you visit your families, you want those people working. You want them to have to go to educate their children, and you want them to have a choice, and that's the whole key message. Now, what have you got to do about it? Well, let me tell you what's happening in Newfoundland. One of the previous speakers mentioned about the seals. Do you know that we are afraid of Greenpeace? We are. We are afraid of the animal rights. We are. Why? I don't know why, but we are afraid of them. They tell us in Newfoundland they got to do a research to see if seals eat fish. Dear God Almighty, what do they eat? Kentucky Fried Chicken? Well, let's be serious. I'm telling you, it's an excuse. There are 6 million seals in the water now. And if they only eat on an average of 10 pounds of fish a day, just listen to the numbers I quoted last evening. 10 pounds times 6 million a day is 60 million pounds a day. Multiplied by 365 days a year, and you've got 22 billion, 700 million pounds of fish. Just imagine, we wonder where the fish has gone. We wonder where it's gone. I mean, there is the destruction in itself in the inland waters inside the 200-mile limit. 22 billion. And if I'm exaggerating, let's say I am. Let's say it's only 5 pounds a day of capelin, cod, herring, mackerel, or flounder. All of valuable fish. Cut it in half, it's still 11 billion pounds of fish a year. What do we need to do more research for? That in itself is enough to bring back a seal harvest. With so many people starving in the world, seal meat is one of the highest protein of food in the world, of meat in the world. With so many people starving, we got the good common sense to have a seal harvest and provide food for hungry people and save the fishery. That's what we have to do. We have to use some common sense that God gave us. A little bit of common sense. Now let me tell you the other thing, the foreigners out there. Someone said last week the foreigners are not the cause of our fishery, it's the Newfoundlanders. In 1990, the foreigners reported taking 800 million pounds of fish. Now, do fish swim? Let me ask you, do they swim? I say they swim in and out over the 200-mile limit. It is not a fence, it's not a wire mesh, it's not an imaginary line on a map. So they took 800 million pounds of fish in 1990, and last year FPI landed 200 million pounds and created 8,000 jobs. And again, using the spin-off factor in the service industry, it's not a 12,000, that's 20,000 jobs created with 200 million pounds of fish. And the foreigners took 800 million, 4 times what FPI landed to create 20,000 jobs. You're talking 80,000 jobs. That would be enough to send every one of you home with a job back there for you. And we will get the benefit. And I know it's not realistic to think we're able to catch all that fish, but what I'm telling you is very clearly 800 million pounds of fish with no concern about conservation, about the size of the fish they're catching is destroying the stocks. And if they were controlled properly, there would be fish there for the Newfoundlanders. Do you know 3 weeks ago there were 7 boats left Portygrave, went out for 6 days on the Grand Banks fishing, came back and never landed one codfish, not one fish, and you ask me why I'm here today? The day I left home, 3 more boats got back in, $2,000 worth of fuel burned, plus all the other expenses, and never landed one fish. They have not found one fish on the Grand Banks in the 3L division so far this year. Now what are the plants going to do? What are the people going to do? In my district, there's 8 fish plants. 8 of them are closed. There's nobody working. People are forced to go to social services. Now why is all of this taking place? It's taking place, ladies and gentlemen, for 2 reasons. First of all, we allowed it. And more importantly, and more worse than that, is that the federal government is so mismanaged and got so careless about Newfoundlanders, and all they want to do is feed them handouts and make work programs and make fun at them, and they've given all our fish away for trade relations. Let me tell you that lumber in British Columbia, the manufactured goods in Ontario and Quebec is the reason why those countries are fishing out there. Why are we still trying to use diplomacy when they're still overfishing out there? They're laughing at us. You know why? Because the ministers from the rest of the provinces got more power than the one minister from Newfoundland, and we're losing. And the time for diplomacy is over. The time to stop for talking is over. There is only one way we're going to get it back out there. We're going to have to take it back. We're going to have to take it back. A little country like Iceland, half the population of Newfoundland, 230,000 people, drove away the British and the Germans. And we can't do it in Newfoundland. I say we can do it. Otherwise, we're going to be called wimps for the rest of our life. We're going to lose everything we've got. And that's the serious message. And that's the reason why that you people have got to band together. And the first thing you got to do now for the next month or 2, you've got to put the pressure on Ottawa. You've got to put the pressure loud and clear. And you've got to issue the threat that if you're not going to do it, then we are going to do it. We've got to shame Ottawa into making a move to save us. We are a drowning province. Believe me, I'm not here exaggerating. I'm telling you, I'm begging you to listen and don't take this lightly. This is serious business. This means the survival of everything that you ever believed into the province. We could become a ghost town in the communities around the coast, 600 communities around the coast of Newfoundland. Ottawa now is talking about retraining programs. My God, what are you going to retrain the people out in Rose Blanche for? I mean, they should be trained for the fishery, not for nothing else. They should be educated because that's the survival of their community and themselves. And they're talking about bringing in training for secretarial positions. They trained people last year. For what? They ended up putting in a training program. They couldn't go back on the response program no more. They ended up going to welfare. And that's what your relatives and friends, that's what's going to happen to them all. So I beg you, with all the heart and the compassion that I have into me, to listen to the messages this afternoon. And it's not something to be here just to play games and to have a good time or to celebrate. We're here for a cause to save Newfoundland and Labrador, a cause to give our friends and relatives back there the choice to live in the province and have the equal opportunity as every other Canadian, have that right to live. We are no less in Newfoundland and we are no more than anybody else. We are equal to the rest of Canada, and we want that fair and equal chance to live in that province and be Newfoundlanders and Canadians the same as everybody else in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, with every ounce of blood that's flowing through your veins, with every bit of energy you got, with every little bit of knowledge that you know how to do it, start fighting for Newfoundland and tell the people in Canada that we are not quitters, that we are survivors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Effort. Please take the best wishes of this gathering back to every fisherman in Portygrave and give them our best wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is from the Down Homer. Barry Stagg is from Newfoundland's west coast. St. George's, Corner Brook, places like that. Wallace. He grew up in Corner Brook and went to Memorial University and then graduated from Dalhousie's School of Law. He's been admitted to the bar in Newfoundland and here in Ontario. And he's a member of the John Cabot Society. I think he was probably there when Cabot dipped down and found all the fish off Cape Bonavista. And now if you dip your basket down off Cape Bonavista and pull it up, all you get is seals. Barry is a columnist with the Down Homer, and I have much pleasure in presenting him to you now, Barry Stagg.
How you doing out there? Okay. Now we've been hearing from people from Newfoundland today, and I'm here as part of the Down Homer organization. I suppose I'm here representing all of us who are Newfoundlanders not living in Newfoundland, you people. Now, there's one thing that's got to be said here that hasn't been said. We've been beating around the bush about what to do about the foreign fishermen on the Grand Banks. Now there's one institution that can do something about it. It's called the Canadian Navy. Now I'll tell you, the Canadian Navy lives in Halifax Harbor. Great institution, a great industry for Halifax Harbor. They don't go out in the Grand Banks. They go down to the Caribbean. Now, I'll tell you, as Newfoundlanders and as Canadians, we've got to say to John Crosby and Brian Mulroney and Clyde Wells and all of those fellows in government that we are tired, sick and tired of taking this nonsense about the fishery. Now let's send out the Canadian Navy and drive those fellows back to Europe. Now let's do it. Now that's what we want to hear. Now John Efford spoke true words. We've got to stand up for ourselves. If we don't stand up for ourselves, then we know what we are. You stand up for yourself in a street corner, you fight for yourself. You stand up for yourself in the Grand Banks of Newfoundland, and you fight for Newfoundland. That's what you do. Now when you go away from here today, every one of you, I mean, you've got to carry the torch for Newfoundland and Newfoundland fishermen, because it needs your help. The resource is there. It's a great resource. It's like the wheat fields of the prairies. It's like the auto industry here in southern Ontario. It's a great resource, but it needs help. If you don't help, if you don't give a damn about the fishery, it's going to go. Now, when you go from here, every person, Newfoundlander, Nova Scotian, from Mississauga, it doesn't matter, but you've got to carry to them that now is the time for Canadians to stand up about the fishery. It's a worthwhile resource, and as John Efford said, and as Walter Carter is going to say, and as Earl McCurdy is going to say, it's a worthwhile industry, and it's the foundation of Newfoundland, and we're going to keep it going. Now, it's one thing to have a rally, and it's one thing to get all excited on a Sunday afternoon, but I tell you, we've got to keep it going, and we've got to keep it going right across Canada. You've got to get farmers in Saskatchewan, and you've got to get pulp workers out in BC interested in this, and you've got to get the ordinary fellow who's going right now, walking along the sidewalk down on Queen Street in downtown Toronto, you've got to get him interested in it. You got to make them realize that come hell, high water, or trade wars, we got to stand up for the fishery in Newfoundland. That's the way it goes. You got to carry the torch for Newfoundland. And all these other gentlemen are going to come up, and they're going to tell you of the problems and some of the solutions. But the solution here, the basic solution that you have to remember, is people power. People power everywhere in Canada. Canadians have an opportunity here to do something to make the Newfoundland fishery a viable industry again. And the first and foremost thing, and what we're going to focus on here today, is let's fire the foreigners back over to the coast of Europe, and let's get on with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barry. That's great. By the way, for those of you who would like to hear Barry again, he'll be on the Down Homer show on Chin Radio tonight. And Chin Radio is 1540 on the dial, and the program starts at 6 o'clock. Now, Bruce Roberts is the host of the program, and Bruce will be there, and he has a surprise co-host tonight. And there'll be a special prize for the first of you today who can guess who the co-host is going to be. And his initials are HB. Now, we promised you on the program that we would have Mr. Rick Cashin here today. And we are not going to be able to keep that promise because we did not confirm with Mr. Cashin about his schedule. It's completely our responsibility, and we're sorry about it. But I'll tell you, we've done very, very well indeed. In fact, Rick better start keeping these dates himself, because if he lets Earl McCurdy do too many speeches, then he might find himself out of a job. Ladies and gentlemen, Earl McCurdy is the Secretary-Treasurer of the Fish, Food and Allied Workers Union in Newfoundland and Labrador. He's also the Secretary-Treasurer of the Newfoundland Federation of Labor, and it is really a great thrill for us to have him here today to address this wonderful crowd in Nathan Phillips Square. Here's Earl McCurdy.
Thank you very much, Harry, and I'd like to thank everybody for turning out today. This is indeed a great crowd and a great show of support for the people back home who need all the support we can get when we deal with the crisis that's upon us. Because, you know, the problems and the crisis that we're experiencing in the fishery in Newfoundland these days is not just a Newfoundland crisis. It's not just a national crisis. It's an international environmental catastrophe if it's allowed to continue. You know, when we entered Confederation 43 years ago, we might have been poor in some respects, but we brought with us some very rich, renewable fish resources. And part of the deal of Confederation, part of the terms of union, was that the responsibility for the management of those resources rested with the government of Canada. Our stocks have dwindled to dangerously low levels, to the point, and I see signs here from Carpoon and from Griquet and from other communities, well, the stocks have declined to the point where the future of Carpoon is at stake, and the future of Griquet is at stake, and the future of all the other little communities in Newfoundland is at stake. And the time for action is now. It's a far cry that what we're seeing now. I talked to a fisherman, the insurance payment that he had no means to pay. And that's a far cry from the hoopla and the fanfare that we heard when the 200-mile limit was introduced in 1977. Back then, if you recall, governments at both levels were wondering whether we'd even be able to catch all the fish that was going to be at our doorstep. During the 1980s, the resource managers in the government of Canada viewed the world through rose-tinted glasses and ignored the warnings from small boat fishermen who had the first-hand experience of having to fish more and more gear to catch less and less fish. Meanwhile, our Achilles heel was exposed, the nose and tail of the Grand Bank, which go beyond 200 miles, and which was wide open to the plunder of foreign vessels. Not only our cod stocks, but also very crucial flatfish stocks have been destroyed by foreigners with no regard for the future of that resource. You know, there's been too many Newfoundlanders have spilled their blood on the soil of Europe to allow the European fleet to come in and destroy our fish stocks. In the last 6 years, we've had hundreds of millions of pounds in decline in our fish landings, while the Europeans have doubled theirs by illegal fishing. And it's not acceptable to the town of Trepassey to have a plant with 800 people put out of work, while the European nets that are putting them out of business, while this foreign fishing is continuing unabated. The time for talk is past, the time for action is now. There have been a lot of protests. I'm very, very pleased. I think it's very embassies in Ottawa are protest at sea to try and draw international attention to what's going on there, and we've got to keep up the fight. Now the question is, what's to be done? And one thing I'm getting kind of fed up with is these people who try to blame the victim. Every now and then you see these geniuses go on TV who call themselves experts and talk about, well, really it's all our own fault. All the fault of the people who fish in Newfoundland. Well, it's not our fault. The people, the government of Canada was given the authority and the jurisdiction to manage that resource, and with jurisdiction comes accountability. What we need now is a plan of action that includes conservation of our resources. It includes a sensible approach to culling the seal herds. But we can't do those things and ignore the people. There are some frontline victims of this crisis who have to be helped through this difficult period, and it is the responsibility of the government of Canada and the people of Canada to provide that help. And finally, and I'll cut it off at that because I know you have other things to do, finally what we have to do is stop that foreign overfishing on the Grand Banks now, because it's destroying our future and we're not going to put up with it anymore. Thank you.
Very much. Thanks very much, Earl McCurdy. Earl was...
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to first of all extend to all of you a very sincere welcome to this rally, and to thank you in behalf of the people and province of Newfoundland for taking the interest to come out this afternoon and to lend your support to what is obviously one of the most important causes that we have ever had to deal with in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Of course, I'm talking about the impending total collapse of the Newfoundland fishing industry. Now that might sound like an overstatement, but I'm telling you now that unless and until something is done to put a stop to foreign overfishing, the end of the Newfoundland fishery as we know it could very well be in sight. Now most of you are Newfoundlanders. Your roots are in Newfoundland. How many of you are Newfoundlanders? Well, that speaks for itself, I think. So you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about when I say how important the Newfoundland fishing industry is to our province, and to the future social and economic well-being of our province. Can anybody here today imagine what Newfoundland would be like were it not for the fishing industry? I don't think anybody here could possibly visualize how Newfoundland could survive and how our lifestyle and way of life could survive without the fishing industry. Fishing, of course, is to Newfoundland what the automobile industry is to Ontario. When you hear people talk about what can happen and what will happen if the fishing industry in Newfoundland is allowed to die, then you want maybe to put the question to them. How would the people of Ontario react tomorrow morning if it were known that within a year or two or three, the entire automobile industry was going to die? How do you think they would react? Of course, the answer is obvious. They would react with shock and disbelief. You would see parades and marches on Parliament Hill, and politicians would be demanding action of their government, how do you think the people of the prairies would feel if it were suddenly came to light that the agriculture industry was about to die on the prairies? How would the people in British Columbia feel if it were known that maybe the forests were all going to die and there'd be nothing left for them to keep body and soul together? Well, that's exactly what's happening today in Newfoundland. When you talk about the fishery in Newfoundland, you're talking about the forest industry in British Columbia, the automobile industry in Ontario, or the agricultural industry in the prairies, or the potato industry in PEI. So that's why, and is it any wonder now that we're so concerned about what's happening and why we're so anxious to solicit the help of all of our friends, former Newfoundlanders, to try and impress upon the Government of Canada the need for some kind of action. My friends, the Government of Canada has got it within their power to take the necessary action tomorrow morning to head off the collapse of the Newfoundland fishing industry. The Government of Canada has it within its power to serve notice on the international community, including the members of the economic community, Spain and Portugal, that beyond a certain date we're not prepared to go without taking some kind of action. We have jurisdiction out to 200 miles of the Canadian continental shelf, but 200 miles is not adequate to cover the entire Canadian continental shelf. I spent ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're going to win this fight. I can tell you now we have to win this fight, because everything that you believe in and that I believe in and everything that we stand for as Newfoundlanders and as former Newfoundlanders depends on just how successful we are. It is difficult to compete with that. I'm glad he's not running against me in Twillingate next time. Anyway, we have a great little province down there, as all of you know. And I can tell you now it's going to continue to be a great little province. It's going to continue to be a great little province. And when we get the fishery back to where it should be, then I think that we will continue to be envied by a lot of other Canadians for the lifestyle that we have and for what we've managed to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring greetings to all of you from the Government of Newfoundland. Premier Clyde Wells intended to be here today, the state, explaining to them the seriousness of the problem and asking for their cooperation. I haven't had the chance yet to speak to the Premier to see how it went, but I'm told that his trip was very successful, so maybe we're on the right track. Ladies and gentlemen, when you leave here today, leave here with the firm commitment that you want to see the fisheries in Newfoundland saved. Every instinct you have as a Newfoundlander, as people with Newfoundland blood in your body and Newfoundland roots, use it to the best of your ability to get the message across to all Canadians. And let the word go out today to all Canadians, not just to Newfoundland Canadians, but let the word go out to all Canadians that we Newfoundlanders intend to continue to fight until we win this battle. Do you agree with me or don't you? So I look forward to seeing when the fish comes back and when we are able to again lay it on for you. We look forward to seeing a lot of you come back. I don't expect to see all of you back, but certainly you're always welcome to come down and visit and spend some time with your relatives and in the place of your birth. And I'm sure that most of you, I suppose, hardly a day passes when you don't dream of the time when you can return to your native province and visit the little communities from which you came and the little landmarks that are so familiar to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attention. Like I said, when you leave here, get the message out. Write your members of Parliament. Telephone your members of Parliament, your MHAs, and explain to them what's happening and ask for their support. Ask them to put pressure on the Government of Canada to take whatever steps are necessary to ensure that Newfoundland, the youngest and I suppose economically the poorest of the provinces, to give us a chance to survive. That's all we ask for. All we ask is for a chance to do our own thing. We don't want to be wards of Ottawa. We don't want to be depending on unemployment insurance. We're given that chance, ladies and gentlemen, Newfoundland will be as good or better than the best of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Honourable Walter Carter. Now, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned at the outset that we're here at Nathan Phillips Square because it's the largest meeting. Much pleasure in presenting the councillor for us today. Councillor O'Donoghue.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Harry. I don't know if Newfoundlanders will understand my accent, but I'm going to try anyway. First of all, I want to, on behalf of City Council, of course, welcome Harry Brown and the Honourable Walter Carter. And unfortunately, Mr. Cashin couldn't be here. I enjoyed listening to John Efford and to Barry Stagg, and hopefully I will listen and get my accent a little bit more polished as the day rolls on. I just wanted to say to you that the reason I'm here today is to show solidarity with the people of Newfoundland, the newest province in Canada, and the things that we stand for. As one who was brought up on another island on the west coast, I'm fairly familiar with to many people in what is happening off the coast of Newfoundland and the Grand Banks. Whether or not the federal government could do a little bit more in marine biology and trying to restock the ocean fish that you have, especially the codfish stocks in this area. And all the answers I have been getting when I talk to people about that is that they're working on it. Well, if they're working on it, I think after a while there'll be nobody working. That's the big problem I think that you have in Newfoundland. You've got to get all the governments working together to ensure that the fish stocks are not depleted and that you have a livelihood and that you can, each and every one of you, have the standard of living that you want. I just wanted to mention another thing too. We've got our own problems here in this city. It has been mentioned this is Nathan Phillips Square. We've gone a little bit squirrely in the last 6 months. Around Christmas time we banned a group called the Bare Naked Ladies because we didn't like the name. I didn't support it. A couple of nights ago we more or less banned the Salvation Army. So you're on pretty holy ground here, I want you to know. But I think it's the type of ground Newfoundlanders like to be on. But you're very welcome here. And on behalf of the City of Toronto, I welcome you with all my heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tony O'Donoghue, representing the City of Toronto. Toronto, as you know, is the third largest Newfoundland city in Canada. The largest Newfoundland city in Canada is the holy city of St. John's, of course. The second largest, I understand, is Fort McMurray in Alberta, and Toronto is the third largest Newfoundland city. The fourth largest Newfoundland city in North America is Boston, and the fifth largest is Brooklyn, New York. So we're in pretty good shape here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, get your programs out again. We continue with today's lesson. we're going to have that marvelous group of singers come back. And for those of you who missed it the first time, we're going to hear again Singing for Fishermen. And then I want you all to join in with them in singing the Ode to Newfoundland. And for those of you who are not Newfoundlanders, I'd like to tell you this, that this was the national anthem of Newfoundland before we became part of Canada. And it goes back to the 19th century. Sir Cavendish Boyle wrote it for Newfoundland when he was governor, and it's one of the most loved songs of our province. So we'll ask you to join with singing for Fishermen. Come on up, guys, come on up. And then after they finish singing for Fishermen, if you wouldn't join us for the Ode to Newfoundland. Can everybody come up and we'll start singing for Fishermen. This is Debbie Dirtle, by the way. You want to give Debbie a big hand? Actually, Debbie was discovered because, of course, she's from England.
No, what a bloody lie.
She's England for the best. She's definitely going to be kept on. Definitely going to be kept on. The crowd estimators, by the way, are out trying to count heads. I don't know how many of us there are today. We got you. Okay, will everybody get your program? If you don't have a copy, we can supply you with one. There's still some left. Ron Young is here, by the way. Come on up and take a bow, Ron. Ron is from the Down Homer magazine. In fact, he is the Down Homer magazine. I tell you, we can get him to say a few words if you like. Just a few.
I'm only allowed to say a few. I talk more than Harry Brown. We're wondering how many people were here, and we've given out 5,000 of these flyers. Anybody out there didn't get one of these flyers that didn't get one? Well, I guess there's a lot more than 5,000 people here. Anyway, there are just a few left over here, just about a handful. If you'd like to come over here, maybe the girls here can hand them. Hey, girls?
Anybody who's going to play?
Ah, there's a girl now, Louie. Anyway, a lot of people wondered why we had this rally here. And they asked me, do you think it'll do any good? Well, it can't do any harm. And
we're going to use a bass amp for guitar.
And they asked me, what will happen if nothing happens about the fishery? Well, if nothing happens, we'll do it again, won't we, boys, eh? And we'll keep on doing it. Thank you very much.
He's a nice fella. Ron Young. Now we're ready to go with Singing for Fishermen. Let's go.
I got another guy here with a bunch. We have some here. Behind here wants some. How many more?
I think you only had an hour and whatever battery was.
A lot of people think the Sonny's Dream is the Newfoundland official national anthem, but actually it's Ode to Newfoundland, and Debbie's going to sing this. Then we're going to sing Singers for Fishermen. We're going to bring a bunch of people up after, and then we'll get back at it again. Has everybody got a program here? Does anybody have? Okay, good enough. So if you turn to page in the middle on the back side, this is Ode to Newfoundland, and this is a fabulous singer. Her name is Debbie Dirtle. She's from Port aux Basques, and we're just as confused as you are. Did you hear about the Newfoundlander yet?
When sun rays crown
smiling land. When blinding storms are spread thy shore, and wild waves lash thy strand, through spindrift swirl and tempest roar, we love thee, windswept land. We love thee, we love thee, we love thee, windswept land. When spread thy cloak of shimmering white, at winter's stand command, through shortened day and star-fit night, we love thee, frozen land. We love thee, we love thee, we love thee, frozen land. As loved our Father, so we love, where once they stood, we stand. Their prayer we raise to heaven above, God guard thee, Newfoundland. God guard thee, God guard thee, God guard thee, Newfoundland. God guard thee, God guard thee, God guard thee,
You know, Newfoundland is more than just an island out in the Atlantic Ocean. Newfoundland is a state of mind, and everybody should be proud to be from Newfoundland. Thank you very, very much for your support. We're trying to prove a point.
We'll sail again, and the ship's gone out in tune. We are sailing for fishermen, we're from Newfoundland.
just incredible. That was great. I'm so proud of you. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, but I'm really into it. I really like it.
I know, yeah.
Do you like quarter bass and quarter girl?
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many of you are. It really doesn't matter because we're all here together to talk about one issue and to make it clear that we mean business this time. Now, the rest of the afternoon is going to be occupied with entertainment from here. We hope you'll stay around at least until 4 o'clock and enjoy yourselves. From now on, have a good time. Thank you for coming. Carry the message. Tell 2 more people tomorrow what happened here today, and the whole message will spread across the country. Thank you for your attendance. Good afternoon.
You know, a lot of Newfoundland's biggest export is people.
He's a legend in my own mind, and this is Roy Kane.
Hey, Frank, do it, son.
Of the hardships and the dangers of the seas that will remain until the day I die. In my memory, brave men, she said, son, that's what they are. Those who face the ashy winds, knowing when they leave the sheltered coast, they may never ever come back again. And then as the teardrops filled my eyes, she'd hold my tiny hand and say, son, the proudest thing on earth are those little boats. Shores of Newfoundland, God, do me a favor, you guide them with your hand. Protect them from the dangers and the fury of the sea. For those little boats of Newfoundland mean the world to me. Yes, those little boats of Newfoundland, Lord, mean the world to me. There's a price tag on the doors in Newfoundland. Raise a glass and drink the main to an island in the sea, where friendship is the word you understand. You will never feel alone in your end of their free zone. There's a price tag on the doors in
How you doing? We have a lot of entertainers around here. I'm going to do a song here with a big hit for me down in Newfoundland, right across over in Poland. It's called the Newfoundland Polka, so I hope you enjoy it. And I want you to romp and stomp with us. Come on, clap your hands. Romp and stomp, there's a schooner in the bay by women make them hay by having fun out in the sun. Go Newfoundland, I'm from Rock and Strong, getting rock and roll, keep on going. Fishing ladies, they like to go, keep on going. Let me hear you yell one time though. Oh, the lazy barber drinks, don't the girls look pretty? Showing out to the salon, looking the boys like me.
Together and give a nice big warm welcome to two lovely ladies from Newfoundland, Jenny and Josie.
Checking 1, 2. Well, I gotta take off the shoes, guys. You know I can't swim with the shoes on. Oh my God, this thing. And I got a blister on the bottom of my foot. And I've done this no codfish. So what I do. Okay, we're going to do a song now about the fisheries. This is an excellent song for today, I think. It's called The 7 Spanish Trawlers. We all know what they've been doing. He looked down into his cod traps. He said, my God, where have they gone? He threw his arms up in despair, 'cause his cod traps they held on.
Over there on the squeeze box, ladies and gentlemen. Nice big hand is the Freddie Northcott of the Bay Boys. And I'd like to remind you, if anybody needs a free bus ride up to Birch...